to a different environment, which was the ocean, and for us it was the mountains. And then it was like the posse itself became the chemistry and how it was either falling apart or how they were like not getting along. So like the structure once again was very serious. Like we had a real very serious approach to a story. But then we just, you hang all these jokes on it, like you say. And then, the interesting about the lead actor, it was, as you know, or as I've been told, like the lead actor obviously will make or break the film. And so I never knew what the voice of the lead actor would be. And I left that kind of open because I figure it will fill itself naturally. And I didn't want to force anything. So a lot of the side characters were pretty much in place, and we were confident of how they should be acting and stuff like that. And when it came to the lead actor, I figured, my gosh, I've just got to find somebody that's going to like fill in this space now and be very reactive to all these crazy characters. And you're right, he's an improv actor from Los Angeles, and I hired him, I think, 2 weeks before we started shooting, and I hired him through Skype. And there was something about him that just seemed like he went with the flow, and he didn't even have to act. It was like, dude, just be that guy and just go with the flow. And he's a cool guy, so like his own personality kind of came through. And so there's a lot of reactive stuff that he does that kind of defines him as the film goes on. But there wasn't any real strong, like, written thing in mind when it came to the lead actor. I just figured I would have to find some sort of a personality that's going to be charismatic and just kind of do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so we kind of lucked out. The whole movie could have been a disaster at any point on so many areas, but that was one thing that we were kind of lucky with. I thought everybody seems to like him a lot.
Well, he's definitely a likable character, but, I keep going back to that, like Dennis Gibbons as...
Oh, yeah.
As Cornelius, like, every time, like, he was on, like, I remember when we were sitting in HorrorQuest and we were watching it, a few seats away from me, there was this very large black man sitting there, and I have never heard somebody laugh like so hard in my entire life. In this, he looked like a freaking football player. I mean, the dude was massive. But like, every time like that character came up, he was like just like chuckling like a little girl, and it was like so funny to watch somebody who you wouldn't think react like that, because there are the movie does deal a little bit like kind of racism and stuff, like, because it is in this little town, and sometimes you kind of feel uncomfortable like laughing at that kind of humor, but when I was watching it with the audience, the people who were laughing the most at that were like the black people. So it's kind of funny to see that reaction, but definitely the two strongest elements, especially as far as the character goes, is the main character and Cornelius, and also I forget what his name is. Who plays the redneck dude?
Oh, Chris Roderick. He's great.
Okay, yeah, he was really funny too. Yeah, so
yeah.
But going, kind of maybe in a little bit different direction, like how. Okay, so you wrote the movie. You said this is what I'm going to make. Now, how did you go about like actually getting it made? Like, how did you like raise the money and stuff like that? Because I'm guessing by this point you might have made a few contacts with people who might have a little bit of money to throw your way. So how did you go about doing that?
Well, okay, I thought the film was going to cost $15,000, and it ended up costing a little closer to $30,000. We shot it in 7 days. One day we shot 18 pages. I don't know if you know these numbers. They're like total insanity. Like, I actually fought with the AD because he was like, you can't shoot a film in 7 days, and we were just like fighting about it. And I was just like, dude, I have no other option. I have no money to shoot, to have a luxury of shooting more than 7 days.
Yeah.
And so, the money, I self-financed it. One of my last documentary jobs I did, I hated it. And I swore to myself like I was going to redeem myself with the money I made and just finally go do something I've talked about for so long, and just, if anything, just so I can, I'd rather have done it and failed and said I did it than to have never done it and had like an extra, what I thought was going to be $15,000, in the bank. So I was ready to spend my savings and just never have that monkey on my back of saying, well, I never did it, And, trying to shop a script is like the most torturous thing in the world because there's 8 million of them floating around, and unless you're somebody, nobody really believes in it. And so that didn't sound fun. So I thought, okay, I'll self-finance this. I can handle $15,000. And then, once you climb into it, we got out of there at about 23 or something like that. But then I got a little obsessed with the audio and from doing documentaries. And so I kind of did a little bit of luxury on the audio end. I had it, I took it to an audio house, and we really took our time with it. And the guy's really a pro. But yeah, in answer to your question, how did I fund it? I just made it something that I could afford. Yeah. That was it. That's why it was 7 days, and that's why it took place in the woods. That's why there's no special effects. That's why the story's real simple, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But now, at least I have a feature that I can, go to somebody now with a track record. And so the next time around, obviously, I can't finance it myself, but I'm in a little better shape now to, hopefully somebody sees that we're pretty resourceful, and we know how to at least make a movie that wins awards for very little money.
Yeah.
And we just got accepted into another festival, and we're up for nomination for Best Comedy in that festival. And we won Best Comedy in our first festival, and we won Audience Choice in your festival. So, I would say to any filmmaker out there to just write the movie that you can afford and just jump in and put your heart into it, have fun, don't stress out, take the weight off it, do it for the experience, not the end product. And, hopefully you'll have some luck and it will come out. Because a lot of times we did have some luck, and, at any moment, one thing could have fell through and the whole thing would have been like the most expensive film short.
Yeah.
But you did say to go ahead and ramble, so let me know if I'm rambling too much. But a friend of mine is Matt Stone from South Park, and I think I told you this.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, and so I met with him before I did this, and he gave me some really great pointers. Obviously, they're very successful, and he gave me a lot. But like the three that I remember that I really held on to, he said, do your work up front. Even though Trey and I do these South Park movies, or they just did a play in New York and his TV show and all this, they really put the work in. They do the prep work for their movies for sure. They don't go in like going, we'll just wing it, we're funny. They really lay the foundation down. And then he said the other, major point that I really took to heart was he was saying that, like, give yourself a little bit of an unreasonable time frame, keep the pressure on. Not only does it make something affordable when it actually gets done, but it actually gives you a better product. And that was really surprising to me because those guys are forced to make an episode every 6 days when they're in their season. And so they can't overanalyze stuff. They can't rethink it and overthink it and overprocess it. They've got to like just keep moving. Whatever spontaneous comes to mind, good, and they just make it work. Or at least that's what my perception of it was. And so we were writing the script and lining up production, and every problem that came up, we just quickly problem solved. Like, nobody stressed out. We realized that we had a clock that was ticking, and that was it. And that became the final. It was like almost like a higher power that just made decisions for us. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, well, what should we do here? I don't know, A. Let's do A, and that's it, done. Just do A and keep moving, And so that was really helpful. That stopped us from overthinking ourselves. And then the third thing that was really priceless was Matt said, for Christ's sake, you're doing a comedy, have fun. Don't stress yourself out. It's the process. At the end of the day, the only thing you might have is the memory of the shoot, and so we just really had a lot of fun. Nobody took anything too serious, and it seemed to work out, I think it showed up. Like Matt said, it will show up in your film. If no one's stressed out and everyone's just having fun, it'll show up in your film. And I really, truly believe in that advice, especially for a comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing a serious horror movie, that might be a different thing, but we were doing a comedy horror, and so we were just making fun of everything, and so.
Well, I think that point applies to horror movies as well, because like horror movies and comedies, I think one reason why a lot of their fan base is so similar is because they kind of do work the same way. I mean, comedies and horror are kind of like weird cousins, I guess.
Right.
I would think that advice, if everybody's having a good time and nobody's stressed out, that works just as well in a horror movie than it does, a comedy. But what you're saying about like that you'd finance the movie yourself, because I do know that you have a family. That was this something that was supported, or was this something that you kind of had to maybe talk your kind of talk your way into it, or like how did that go over with like your like parents or your wife or whatever like that? How did your family react to it?
They were super supportive. My wife and I have a 10-year-old, and everybody was just, we had a philosophy of just follow your dreams and go for it. And I turned my house into the set, which was, that's everything you see in that movie is, pretty much either in my house or in the backyard or across the street in the woods or down the road or at the local town hall, or it's just like, I mean, the house, I think at one, fortunately the rugs and the carpet and everything were already kind of beat up and it didn't matter. But, I mean, if you can imagine, my house had like 30 people, it literally, my house was taken over.
Yeah.
And, that was the other thing too. I think I did, a very odd process. I went to Craigslist and I got a lot of people that had just moved to Los Angeles that wanted to get into the film industry. And, I don't even know what I was doing. So it was like, there was obviously no egos going on whatsoever. And it literally was one of the first guys I got off Craigslist. I said, your job is just to keep getting people off Craigslist. And he was the production manager. And he literally always constantly was recruiting people from Craigslist, because we had people dropping out, people coming on board, people that would just disappear after like a week. But in the end, what we found by going through so many people, we found that person that got that the film was going to get made, so they were going to have something for their resume. It wasn't like just talk. They were networking, making a connection because they were all new to the city. So everybody was building the first of their relationships in the industry. You know, one guy brand new from Boston meets a guy brand new from Chicago, meets a girl brand new from Oklahoma, and all of a sudden they all have something in common, and they've got a community, they're working, it's going to get shown. I promised everybody that. I said, look, I'm also the financer, so, you know, the decision's made. This film is going to get made. And so we really had fun, and we spent I was writing the film while everybody was in a room in the house with cardboard tables, starting to organize locations, and so there was a boot camp of 5 weeks of everybody just hanging out. It was kind of, you're welcome to come and go. There was no, you didn't have to get there at 9 in the morning. People just showed up around 10 or 11, would leave around 4 or 3. They, you know, something come up where they went on a job interview. They just didn't come in that day. It was. I don't know how productive it was for those 5 weeks, but one thing was for sure. We boiled it down to a well-groomed working crew that everybody cared about everybody, and when it came time, when the money started to get spent, everybody was on point. And so it was almost 5 weeks of people hanging out to kind of sift through and get the right chemistry. And it didn't cost me anything because I wasn't paying anybody. They would just come in and they would check their emails and check Craigslist for other gigs. It was just like a community, somewhere to go. Instead of sitting in their house trying to get a job, they would come here. And so it was pretty cool, man, I have to admit. But there was some crazy stuff that happened. I was in the back room trying to write the script with 2 other writers, and I would go out of my room to go to the kitchen to get a drink, and there would be all these people, I didn't know who they were, in the hallway or in the living room, which I took all the furniture out. And so they would, you know, I would just want to go to the kitchen and get a drink and go back to the room because I didn't know anything about the production, and I did know what I needed to do script-wise, and I just wanted to go write. And I would get stopped in the hallway with 4 or 5 questions from 4 or 5 people, and I didn't know how to answer any of them.